What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. All right, this Saturday we got UFC 303. So let's start from the bottom of the main card. We got Ian Machado Garry taking on MVP Michael Venom Page. But guys, before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly. Help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it. So we got the super prospect Ian Garry taking on, I guess you could say prospect in a sense, Michael Venom Page. He's a prospect within the UFC. Kind of catapulted himself with a big victory over Kevin Holland in his UFC debut. But he's been around for a very long time. I mean, MVP's already, I think, 36, 37 years old. Former Bellator champion. Was there for a long time. A lot of high-level performances. Showcasing, I mean, the big question mark with MVP throughout his career was always what would he do within the UFC. So now that he's here, it's pretty interesting. You know, he had such a dominating performance over Kevin Holland in his debut where, I mean, he was like a magician out there. You just could not fucking see the guy. Just an absolute striking wizard. Kevin Holland was just, I mean, you could just tell, just absolutely baffled. Like, every time he tried to hit MVP, he wasn't there anymore. And then he was getting hit. And, you know, people were even saying that that was a boring fight. I don't really know how. I mean, just because he doesn't get to finish and he goes out there and has a dominant decision, I really wouldn't call it a lackluster performance. I think he went out there and dominated and showed some cool striking, high-level striking, and I thought it was rather entertaining for a debut. But going against Ian Garry here, I think Ian Garry is even the favorite in this fight. And, you know, Ian definitely has looked better each and every time he's gone out there. That's for sure. You know, 26 years old, undefeated, 14-0. Victory over Jeff Neal, where Jeff just, he could not get anything going in that fight. He had to, you know, dominated Neil Magny, finished D-Rod, had to fight over San Kanan, where he had to battle through some adversity where he got dropped. I think it was in the second round, came back and won the fight. But I mean, what, 7 fights in the UFC already? So I mean, he's battle tested. He's gone out there. It's time for him to fight somebody super high level, and against a guy like MVP, I think that's the fight to make. I would have liked to see MVP fight Wonderboy, just because of who they are, especially with their ages. It would make sense, but the UFC is definitely, he's like on the up and up towards the title, where Wonderboy is kind of not there anymore. So it would make sense, like, now if MVP loses to Ian Garry in this fight, then the fight with Wonderboy would definitely make a lot more sense. So I see where they're going with this aspect at this point, with this certain avenue with Michael Venom Page. Now, I mean, Ian's long for the weight class, but so is MVP. Ian's fast, he's young, he's got the youth on his side. But I just don't think that's going to equal the power and precision of Michael Venom Page. I just don't. I think with what we saw, I thought Kevin Holland stood a much better chance in that fight. I really did. I thought he was going to make that fight much more competitive, and it wasn't. And with a guy like MVP, I think he shines the brightest under the lights, under pressure. And I think Garry does as well. But I don't agree with the odds in this fight. I think MVP is going to go out there. I think it's going to be a close fight. I like Ian Garry's rise. He looks good. He looks better every single time he comes out there. And his victory over Jeff Neal, for me, definitely showed how good Ian is and how frustrating he could be as a fighter. But I think if MVP just stays patient, I think that he's going to walk away. I don't know with a knockout or a TKO, but I think he'll definitely outpoint his way to a victory. I was just so impressed with this fight with Kevin Holland, especially with where he's at his age. It's hard for me to doubt MVP now, but also with how Ian Garry beat Jeff Neal. But I remember he didn't really engage. Like, I remember, if I'm not, I haven't rewatched the fight. I remember watching it live. So like, but what I remember was him just kind of like retreating a lot of the fight, like just fighting off of his back foot and not really engaging in the action, which, I mean, obviously you don't want to do against Jeff Neal, but I was very biased going into that fight before Jeff Neal, so that was a hard watch. But I think that MVP could definitely surprise some people in this fight, and if he goes out there and gets a victory, MVP, Leon Edwards, how do you not make that fight? If Leon Edwards gets through Bilal, you know, all that stuff, but how do you not make Leon Edwards versus MVP? Or if Ian Garry gets through MVP in like exciting fashion, Ian Garry, Leon, Ian Garry, Bilal. I try to not count out Bilal as well, but I'm just speaking hypothetically. But now I'm just starting to ramble at this point. But I think I think MVP, I just think that he's just going to be able to have the timing, the footwork, the distance control to equal Garry's youth, athleticism, and speed. Yeah. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this killer matchup. I love this fight. I love this matchup. I love to hear your guys' thoughts on who you guys think is going to get the victory in this fight this Saturday at UFC 303. It's going to do it for today, guys. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.